guys, this is Erica Weston with
Valley
Sports Midwest, and you're listening to my favorite St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio.
As the world's only personalized vitamin platform based on a health assessment and your DNA, ID Life provides its members with high-quality ingredients backed by pure science.
It's science.
Check out rockinthatidlife.com and speak with Dustin about how you can reach your goals today. That's rockinthatidlife.com.
Center Ice Brewery is a proud sponsor of Let's Go Blues Radio. Visit centericebrewery.com today to schedule a no-contact curbside pickup or make a reservation in their awesome tap room. That's Center Ice Brewery, located in Midtown St. Louis. Let's go Blues!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Let's Go Blues Radio. I am your host, Jeff Pondert. Of course, I'm joined by, we'll talk about who I'm joined by here in a little bit. But this is episode 51 of Let's Go Blues Radio. This is the fully vaccinated, often imitated, but never duplicated, the totally unconsecrated. We are the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast. Support for Let's Go Blues Radio is brought to you in part by rockinthatidlife.com, the world's only truly personalized vitamin platform based on a health assessment of your DNA, and by Center Ice Brewery and centericebrewery.com, St. Louis's first and only hockey-themed brewery. We're broadcasting live on Thursday, September 2nd, 2021. This is franchise episode number 317 all time. I'm Jeff Ponder, and I'm joined by my always charming co-host, Bill Day. We've got a couple other guys on screen here who we'll get to in just a minute. Kurt Price is on assignment. So kick back, crack open a beer or a hydrate from rockinthatidlife.com and enjoy some hockey talk for the foreseeable future. To interact with the show on social media, we're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Bill is still working on getting that Let's Go Blues Radio TikTok up. Bill, how's that going?
I just can't figure it out. You know? Get laughed off by the kids.
We said last week that you weren't here because you were uploading a bunch of Let's Go Blues Radio TikToks. I guess that wasn't true, huh?
No, it was not true whatsoever.
Have you checked out our Discord server? It's an excellent community for Blues fans to interact with one another as well as with the hosts of this show. It's been a little quiet this summer, but we saw some exponential growth last season. It's always a good time. For more info, go over to letsgoblues.com/Discord. We're dual live streaming right now on YouTube and Facebook. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the show, smash the bell so you'll get notifications when we go live. So, Bill, we have a couple of special guests joining us from the East Coast tonight. First of all, friend of the show, gentleman that you've heard before, if you're a longtime listener of Let's Go Blues Radio, Mr. Dan Rice. He is a New Jersey Devils reporter, done some work for the NWHL as well, which is why he's joining us today, a friend of Mr. Oliver's, who we'll get to in a minute. But Dan, thank you very much. And as I was telling Nate before the show started, you might be the guest we've had on the most that's not from St. Louis. So I think that's quite an honor. We should probably give you a plaque or something.
That's pretty neat. I also got to say the little Marty Brodeur logo here. That's a really nice touch. I didn't notice that right away, but once it caught my eye, that's really sweet. And as luck would have it, I think about 2 years ago we did one of these together. It came up in my memories this morning. We talked about the trade with the Devils that eventually led to the Blues winning the Cup 20 years later.
Yep. The Scott Stevens situation.
Scott Stevens fiasco. If you piece that all together and you go down the trade tree, they in some way, shape, or form they helped the Blues win that Stanley Cup. So you're welcome, St. Louis.
Yes. Thank you, Dan Rice specifically. That trade tree turned into Jordan Binnington. being selected. So that's kind of the end of that trade tree right now. We'll see how farther it goes. But yeah, for the Blues, that's as much, and Bill, I know you lived through it, the mental anguish of the Stevens and the Shanahan fiasco and all of that. My goodness, I think it paid off finally. It took a long time, but it finally did.
Yeah, it's a literal and figurative deal with the devil to go that long from that deal to us winning the cup. A lot of pain. In the end, worth it.
Yes, definitely was. So let's also mention our other guest on the show tonight, and let's just say we're leaving the best for last. Mr. Nate Oliver joins the show. By the way, Dan, that was perfect. How you knew to point in the right direction, because there are times when I'm like, oh, this guy over here, and I'm like, wait, nope, other hand. You got this down. You know what you're doing.
I'm a quick learner. I can be experienced in some formats, but I tend to pick up on things pretty quick, and I think that's why I'm an asset wherever I end up.
That's good to know.
Later.
So Nate Oliver is actually the GM of the Buffalo Beauts hockey team of the NWHL, and we're going to talk about the NWHL, their upcoming season, as well as his job as GM. So Nate, thank you very much for coming on and enjoying the show with us today.
Oh, certainly my pleasure, guys. And I'm going to piggyback off of what Dan noticed, that he's got Marty Brodeur. I love that Bill has Mike Liut as his. Growing up in Buffalo, I was certainly a long-time Adams Division fan, so I have memories of Mike Liut with the Hartford Whalers. And I was also a big Nordiques fan as well, and in addition, of course, my hometown Sabres. So kind of sad to see neither the Whalers or the Nordiques around. That it still causes pain in my heart, but lifelong Sabres fan and lifelong Buffalonian. So, but very happy to be here, and it's a pleasure just have you guys having me on.
I'm very sorry about the Ryan O'Reilly trade.
Well, it worked out well for you guys, and there was a few players on that Blues team that I was glad to see get their name inscribed on the cup. There's always, and one thing that was kind of cool, I think, even though his name didn't get engraved, but I thought it was neat that Chris Thornburn got to be out there on the ice for the cup presentation, which was kind of special in and of itself.
Yeah, he was the third player to get the cup, right? And he didn't skate in one game, but no, he was a big part of that team. The guys always talked about how nice it was to talk to him and have him up with the lineup during the playoffs. One of the Black Aces. So I mean, all those guys. It's funny. I mentioned this thing on the show last week that friend of the show Andy Strickland commented recently something about how the Blues only had one cup winner on their roster when they won the cup, and I'm like, who? And he was like Colin Frazier, and I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot he was on the team because he won it with L.A., but he was a Black Ace. So, yeah, it's funny because you look at that roster that won and you say no cups, but then you forget one guy was on the roster, was a cup winner. So you got to give some love to those Black Aces, Ville Husso being one of those guys, now the Blues backup goalie. Always fun to see all those guys celebrate, even though they may not have touched the ice in the playoffs, still a big part of the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Bill, real quick, we're going to do our official beers of episode number 317. Why don't you lead us off, Mr. Day?
All right, I will. And this is killing two birds with one stone, because not only am I repping the sponsor of the show, but I'm also paying homage to one of our guests. I have the Beauty. Beauty Milkshake IPA from Ice Brewery, and yeah, it's a different twist on the Beauty, which is a citrusy IPA. This is the milkshake version. Kind of gives you the idea that you got one of the dreamsicles or creamsicles, whichever you want to call it. Not too bad. Good. It probably would have been better last week during the extended heat wave, but now that the weather's kind of broken, it's still good. Everything Center Ice puts out is great.
Yeah. So for you two gentlemen who may not know, Center Ice Brewery is a it's a, first of all, wonderful sponsor of our show, but the only hockey-themed brewery in St. Louis. It's an unbelievable spot to catch a game. They have, they're always, obviously the Blues games are always on, Cardinals games always on, but, during the Stanley Cup playoffs, Bill and I caught a couple games there. I went for the Stanley Cup final one game, and it was a pretty packed house. Great spots. If you're ever in St. Louis and you're looking for a place to go to, a hidden gem is Center Ice Brewery. So, Nate, when St. Louis gets that NWHL team and you come down here for a playoff game, you got to check out Center Ice Brewery.
You can count on that. I'll buy the first round.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Let's do it. So my beer tonight is probably the last time I have it on the show for the season. So again, just a beer that we all love, at least the hosts of Let's Go Blues Radio, Summer Lager from Schlafly Beer out in here in St. Louis. Just a wonderful summertime beer, but as Bill mentioned, the weather is starting to break. So, Bill, I might actually start drinking some of those Oktoberfests and pumpkin beers that we're seeing in the grocery stores, because it's finally getting to a point where I don't feel like I'm going to completely sweat through my shirt in 2 minutes if I walk outside.
Absolutely. My on deck beer for tonight is a Four Hands Oktoberfest. So we'll see if we get that far tonight.
We'll see. Derek in the YouTube chat gives us a little wave emoji. So what's up, Derek? Thanks for joining us. And again, we've got guests the show here for a little bit to start us off. So any questions you might have for a man who covers the Devils and also covers just the NWHL in general, as well as the GM of the Buffalo Beauts of the NWHL, go ahead and post your questions, your comments in that YouTube and Facebook chat, and we will get to them before we move on with the show. So, as I mentioned, Buffalo Beauts GM Nate Oliver, an NWHL reporter for the icegarden.com, Dan Rice, have joined the show. So it's a real pleasure to have both of you on. Nate, my first question is for you. So I was looking through some of the things the Beauts have done over the last couple of years under your tenure. I believe this is your second, or is it your second or third season as GM?
It's my second season as GM. That's correct.
Okay. And you were assistant GM before that. And I believe you had another position before that as well. So you've been with the organization for 4 or 5 years now, correct?
In an official capacity, 3 years, where I was actually employed by the team, but have been around them for about 5-6 seasons. Initially starting off as a beat writer covering them, and then I also handled a lot of the articles specifically for the Beauts webpage and for NWHL. I contributed that way before I had an opportunity to work for the team in an official capacity as the team's community coordinator, and also more or less a de facto assistant GM. And one thing certainly led to another, and ended up being where I am today. So yes, in short, I've been around the team for quite a while now.
So one of the notes, kind of one of the bigger things that pops out to me about you and your resume of what you've done, is you actually drafted and signed the first player ever selected in the NWHL International Draft, and it was a goaltender, which Bill should appreciate. I'm going to probably butcher this name, but I'm going to try it. Lovisa Berntsen, is that correct?
Perfect. Absolutely correct.
I am so proud of myself.
I'm
going to pat myself on the back at commercial break. So I wanted to ask you, just because of, obviously when you look at the NHL, the international scouting is extremely important, but in a newer league, a league that's, only been around, it's still kind of in its infancy. It's still growing. How important is international scouting in the NWHL, and maybe even comparatively speaking to the NHL?
Yeah, I think as far as the NWHL is concerned, European scouting is still in its infancy, but it's a highly untapped resource that, at least personally, I've kept my finger on for quite a while now. With women's players, they have a fair amount of options as to where they can play once they finish their collegiate careers. And two of the best women's leagues in the world are right in Sweden and Finland. You have the SDHL in Sweden, and then the Naisten Liga in Finland. Not to mention, the Women's Hockey League in Russia as well too. And there's players that have been Olympians for Team USA, Olympians for Team Canada. They play in those leagues, and it's a high caliber level of hockey. So have an opportunity to draft players that maybe have never played in North America before. They didn't go the collegiate route, but they've established themselves over in their home countries. It's a great opportunity for us to showcase players from around the world and tap some of those resources. You mentioned the goaltender that we picked, Lovisa Bernson. She actually goes by Lolo for short. So Lolo I've known for about 3 or 4 years now. And she's played for the Swedish women's national team. She's won the championship in Sweden's premier women's league, their top women's league, the SDHL. She's a little bit older for a female player. She's 32 and has been playing since her teenage years at a high level of hockey. So to acquire a veteran of that caliber, I feel like in some ways, maybe the Beauts have stole one from another team, just knowing that she was available, knowing that she was out there and is as talented as she is.
So we have our first question, and Nate, I'm guessing this is directed at you from Gunsmith Cat 74 in the YouTube chat. Is Brooke Stacy coming back?
At this point, Brooke is not signed with us for the season. We've signed 23 players, and that our roster, at least for this time being, is finalized. I don't anticipate any other signings before the season starts. Anything is possible once we get underway. I'll say I'll go with the adage of never say never. But the Beauts have typically, the past 2 or 3 seasons, have been at around 22, 23 players. You have to sign a minimum of 20, but no more than 25. I've liked keeping that number of 22, 23, and I've always gone with 3 goaltenders. So it's kind of continuing that. But at this point, Brooke will not be back with us. I would love to have her back if it's in the cards. She's a wonderful person, a fantastic hockey player. Was an all-star for us a couple seasons ago. And I still talk with her pretty regularly. So if it's in the cards, I would love to have her come back.
So I wanted to ask you, and Dan, feel free to chime in here as well. Clearly, you look at maybe the NHL landscape, even AHL, OHL, whatever league, there's always a couple stories that pop out heading into the season. What are you going to watch? What's the big thing that fans should know going into the season? So let me ask you, for the NWHL, what is one of the biggest story, maybe one of the biggest headlines heading into the season? What are fans supposed to be looking out for?
Well, from my perspective, you mentioned the international draft, and certainly our regular NWHL draft too. This season, the draft was very challenging because of COVID. I don't know how well that this is known, but because of the COVID pandemic, the NCAA gave an extra year of eligibility to their athletes, and so that certainly played an impact in our collegiate players that were available for the draft. There's some of the best players that are playing college hockey right now took advantage of that extra 5th year and were not available to be selected in this draft. But as the Beauts approached that and I looked at that, I felt that there was a lot of diamonds in the rough, and there was not, there was kind of this thought going around that I believe is very incorrect, is that it wasn't a deep draft and there weren't quality players available. Absolutely there were. It was just a matter of identifying them and finding them. So I think from my perspective, what I'm most excited to see for the season is those players that are newcomers to the league, that maybe might be names that are not familiar to some fans, but the stage is set for them to really hit the ground running and to do some damage out on the ice. So I'm excited for a lot of those newcomers, and I would encourage fans to check that portion of it out. You could very likely find a new fan favorite when you're not even meaning to, just by watching our games and getting to know some of the newer faces.
Dan, anything you have to add?
A couple of things that I'm really looking forward to this season. One big thing is familiar faces in new places. We've had a little bit of roster turnover where some players have switched teams, and maybe in the past it didn't happen as much. But this offseason, it seemed like we had a little bit more, and I think that adds a little intrigue and helps build some rivalries. A couple of Riveters players had signed with the Connecticut Whale, and Whale player went to Nate's team, to the Beauts, and some Riveters players went to Toronto. So that's one storyline that I'm really looking forward to. And just seeing the fans back in the stands, I think that's really going to give everybody another boost. They played some really, really entertaining games in some tough situations last year, whether it was Lake Placid or then not playing for almost a month and a half, and then have to play a playoff elimination game in Boston, kind of cold. And I thought the players put on a great show. And the obvious storyline is, can anybody dethrone Boston? They're kind of the de facto champions two years running, maybe, definitely 1 year. The year that we didn't have a final, they lost one game out of 25. So, they're going to have a little bit of a different look this season. They signed some players from Connecticut. So that's the, who can dethrone them, and who's that team and that below them that can take that next step? Is it Nate's team? Is it Connecticut? Is it Toronto, who had a great first season? They get to finally play home games. They haven't played a home game yet. They've been a team for almost 2 years now, a full 2 years. And I can't wait to see what that looks like when they finally get to drop the puck at the end of November for their first home game.
Why have they not played a home game yet? Just because of the whole COVID situation?
Yeah, they were announced as a team, and then COVID season we had, last season they only played games in Lake Placid. All the 6 teams were in one location, and then the playoff games were in Boston. So they've played 7 games as a franchise, and none of them have been in Canada or in a home rink. They have a home rink, right? They have a home locker room and everything. Really looks nice. But we've yet to see it in action, and that's something that I hope, and I'm pretty confident that game will be sold out. If not sold out, then very close to being sold out.
So we have another question. This is probably for Nate. Well, actually, it is, because it says, "Hey, Nate." This is from Puck Nerd. He says, "Hey, Nate, does Mary Jo Pelletier break her own points record this year?"
So I should clarify that MJ, she's French Canadian, so it's Marie-Jo Pelletier.
I knew I was going to ruin one of the names.
No worries at all. She's actually from New Brunswick, and this is her 3rd season with us, and she's been an alternate captain her first number of years in the league. I've actually known MJ since she was a sophomore collegiately at UNH, and she's a phenomenal hockey player. I always point out that she's 4'11", but she plays like she's 11'4", and has done that for as long as she's been playing the game. I think absolutely she breaks her own point record. So she has number of different records. She's a league record for most power play points in a single season. She has the Beauts team record for most assists in a season, and there's probably a couple others that I'm forgetting. But I think that she's been an all-star before. She was an all-star in her rookie season. I think this season 7 for the league, but MJ's 3rd in the NWHL, is when she really takes off. I think she's going to do a lot of damage on the score sheet. We certainly have her tabbed to be one of our top 2D, something that she's been all along, but will continue to be so. I think, with a couple seasons under her belt, and like a lot of the players in the league, I think that there was a sense of, while Lake Placid was a lot of fun and we got to have a completed season, and as Dan mentioned, Boston won the cup and there were some great playoff performances. I do think some of the players in the league have a bit of a chip on their shoulder that we want a normal season. We want to play a full-length season and have an opportunity to compete and battle. And I know from my conversations with MJ that she very much feels that way. She wants a cup, and add that to her hockey resume. So in short, I say absolutely. I think this is going to be an even more of a breakout year than what she's ever had before, points-wise, and her impact on our team.
Awesome.
Can I just add something? I think maybe Jeff's fan base, the people that generally watch the show, that they may not be familiar, and maybe even some NWHL fans. But Nate is a very thorough person. He has a background as a hockey writer. If you go back and you read some of his articles, it's very in depth. So he is one of the most well-equipped people to be a GM, especially in women's hockey, where there isn't the coverage that maybe there should be and the information at a level that maybe it should be. He has all this information, and you mentioned the international draft. I think that was a great question and a great example of him doing his homework and really knowing what he's doing as a GM of a team here, and able to kind of construct and mold them the way that he sees fit. And he's just got all this experience now, and the sky's the limit for Buffalo this year. I think they really have a chance to do something special with the team that they have assembled. We obviously don't know what every other team looks like yet, because they haven't finished the whether it's signing or announcement of their rosters, but Buffalo is definitely primed to be a team that can be reckoned with this season 100%.
Is there a Lou Lamoriello of the NWHL? Is there one GM that's just like, I'm not saying a thing until this date. I'm going to sign all these people, but I'm not going to say a thing forever.
You want to take that
him?
one?
It's him, huh?
No. So I the Beauts were the first team to get their roster. I signed the first player in the offseason, and I was going at a pretty steady clip. If I had to say a fellow GM that probably fits that mold, and I don't think he would mind me saying it, is Jack Brodt of the Minnesota Whitecaps. Whitecaps haven't announced any players yet. And that's, Jack plays it very much close to the vest. He's a hockey legend in many regards. He comes from a hockey family, and his daughters found a great deal of success at University of Minnesota. And I forget, I can't remember if Chelsea and Winnie both went there. I know that Winnie did, but highly accomplished players. And Jack is, in his late 70s. He's been coaching this game for a very long time, and he's been the GM for the Whitecaps, and he really knows his stuff. If he's the type of person that if you have an opportunity to sit down with him or talk with him at length, you'd love to pick his brain, because he's got a memory like an elephant, and he knows the game so well, and is very knowledgeable of his players. And he's won a cup. There's the Minnesota Whitecaps won the cup. They were in the cup final again, and that's their winning recipe. So if it means that he waits, that they wait as an organization towards the end of the summer to announce their roster, more power to them, because they have a very deadly and very potent hockey club.
So you mentioned the Whitecaps. He's the GM of the Whitecaps. So Dan, my next question's for you. We have been fortunate enough to have a great personality on this show, and partially thanks to you, because you're the one I reached out to, Amanda Levier, a now friend of the show, who we affectionately call Lev. She was one of my favorite people I've ever interviewed. She was just so down to earth and lighthearted. I have to ask, Nate, I don't know if you've had conversations with players. I don't know if clearly you probably know her personally, but how different is her mindset on the rink? Is she the same happy-go-lucky person on the rink, or is it all business when she steps foot on the ice?
From my interactions with Lev, like when not on the ice, if there's a media scrum or just off to the side of the locker room areas, very affable, upbeat, just like you said, just the way that you described her. But I think out on the ice, and Dan can attest to this as well too, is that she's just some of the saves that she makes, and her ability to position her body, read a play, anticipate a play. It's almost really hard to describe because it's just at another level. She's definitely one of the top 3 best goaltenders in the league. I think in many instances, and she's proven this before, she's the best goaltender in the league and has been from time to time. And she's a proven champion at all levels. So just a pleasure to watch her. But I think, when somebody's like that, when they're true to themselves and just a natural, upbeat, friendly person, happy person, I think that carries over into their performance in the workplace, whether that's a starting goaltender for an NWHL team or in an office or coach or, whatever it is. I think that permeates. There's some overlap there. And Lev can certainly be a character, but she's a true blue person and just a solid individual.
Yeah, I think Nate said it perfect. Lev, when she's on the ice, she's locked in. Everything that Nate mentioned, the only thing that I would add is maybe she just never quits. Like, she's never going to give up on a play, on a puck, whether it's stretching or reaching or trying to block it with any part of her body, her paraphernalia. And she is, and she has fun when she's out there. You could see it at times. We're fortunate where NWHL games sometimes where we sit right up or we stand right up against the glass, and you can kind of see her smiling a little bit through her mask during breaks after like a crazy save or sharing a moment with a teammate. She's just like an all-time great in my mind. It's a shame she's never really gotten a fair shake with Team Canada and everything with that. I don't know what the deal with that is. I don't know why that is. It boggles my mind because if you look at her resume and what she's done in big games and all that, she's top of the line. And, she's maybe I could share a little something exchange. I spoke with her recently via text, and I said, what's going on here? Like, are you going to sign or what? And she's like, oh no, I'm done. I'm not playing this year. I'm retired. And my heart legitimately sank for like 5 seconds. And I'm like, is this for real? Like, I kind of got like that panic sweat almost. And as I was like typing to say like, are you serious? She texted like, nah, I'm just messing with you. Like, so that's kind of her personality. She's so very easygoing, and I haven't gotten to know her the way I have since her rookie season. Being a fan of the Gophers, I've always kind of been drawn to those players, and she was very friendly the first time we met, and we hit it off. And I got to meet her family. Her family, Nate can attest to, are great people. Some of the kindest people I've ever met, and well, they're Canadian, so that's shouldn't be a shock. They're just some awesome people, and Lev is Lev. She likes to goof around and have a good time, and but when it's go time and the puck drops, she is 100% one of the best women goalies on the planet in my mind, and I can't wait to see what she does again this season. Every season she's been in the league, she's pretty much been in the final. Whether she's starting she's the starting goaltender or not. Yes, she's definitely one of a kind, I guess. And that's a good way to put it too.
Well, let's face it, right? Bill can attest to this. She's a goalie. Goalies are a little bit of a different breed.
Just a little bit, yeah.
You have to be to put yourself in front of that puck, especially those of us that started way too early in age. But
yeah,
Then the
I
brain
remember
damage
being a
sets
kid and talking to my dad about our goalie and just being like, I was like maybe 10 years old, and I'm like, man, our goalie Alex, he's such a weird guy. He's the weirdest guy I've ever met. My dad's like, think about it. This guy chooses to have rubber shot at him every night. He chooses to do that. It's going to be a strange person who wants to do that. And I'm like, that's a really good point. Again, we talked about some of the biggest stories heading into the NWHL season. But for me, I love to be able to watch the games, to stream them. I wanted to ask you guys, Dan, maybe this is the best question for you since you're a reporter and you do your best to kind of watch the league as a whole. If I'm in St. Louis, if I'm in Montana, if I'm in Kansas City, what's the best way for me to catch NWHL action, whether it's via live stream or any other medium?
The best and easiest way is all of their games are broadcast and streamed for free on Twitch. You don't have to create an account to watch the games. You can create an account to watch the games, and then there's also a chat room kind of in the sidebar, and you can interact with fans. You don't have to even say anything. You can just kind of watch the madness unfold. I'm a little bit older, and it's hard for me to follow everything that goes on in Twitch during the game. So a lot of times I'll just expand it and kind of erase the chat, and I use like the theater mode. I bring it up on my TV. It was really good. I think this past season we saw a real jump in viewership. I think I don't know if that was the way the games were promoted any differently. That's not for me to say. I'm not, I haven't dug into that data, but I do know that the fans seem to enjoy that aspect of being able to interact with other fans, with broadcasters during the game as it's going on, get shout outs, during puck stoppages and stuff like that from the announcers. It really makes it interactive. And I think for those fans that do live near where some of these games are, I would say, if you want to take a trip out to one of those cities, go out and go see the games. The access that you're probably going to get is probably going to be unrivaled to anything you've been accustomed to. These players are real people who take time after games to sit down and sign autographs, take pictures with your kids. I'm not sure how it'll work this year with COVID. I'm sure there'll be some kind of protocols in place, but one of the best things that the NWHL has going for it is the players, their personalities, their interactions with fans, and to me that's how you continue this growth and upswing that they're on. They had their playoff games on NBCSN this past, was it March, right? It was the end of March. We had 3 games in 2 days on NBCSN. That was a really big deal, and hopefully it's the first step of many. But for now, Twitch is where it's at, and hopefully we have some more deals in the future.
Yeah, hopefully it's a lot of fun to watch, and I agree for the older audience. I say that I'm in my late 30s, but the interaction during the game, it's a little fun to pay attention and watch for a little bit, but yeah, after a while, I'm like, okay, I just want to watch the game. There's way too much being said. There's too much going on. I can't focus on both. My ADD is just off the charts right now. So yeah, I usually throw it on theater mode on my TV and just relax, kick back, open a beer, and watch the game. And it's great hockey to watch. I asked Lev this. Oh, go ahead.
I will say it is good for fans who are maybe new to the game of women's hockey, where they can kind of go in there and whether it's during gameplay or intermission, and you can ask questions, and sometimes we see in other venues of social media, there's what some people call gatekeeping, there's not that kind of aspect. I think all the NWHL fans are like, oh, cool, you don't know anything about them. Let me tell you everything about every player. They really, but that's great to see. They're so passionate, and I love getting to meet the fans. I mean, I'm a pretty friendly guy, and I like to meet people everywhere I go. And some of the people, whether it's Nate or players or fans, people who work behind the scenes for the NWHL, that they're really some really great people, and I can't imagine kind of being involved with anything else at this point. If it wasn't if it ceased to exist, I would really be crushed, as I'm sure a lot of other people would. So I do what I can to promote and try and grow this thing the best way that we can.
So we got a comment here, Bill, from our loyal listener, Mr. Austin Lynch, has stepped in. He says, "Hello, it is I. I just got off work and eating dinner and chilling with y'all tonight. Why are you eating dinner at 9:45 at night?" That is my question, Austin. Also, I went into I'm going to totally embarrass him here. So Austin's a high school kid who listens to our show. So hopefully you're not going to be staying up too late because you got school tomorrow, boy. But I stopped into your Smoothie King today, and I asked if you worked there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we love Austin." So where were you at? I was wanting to get a smoothie from you and give you trouble, but apparently you weren't there. So I expect you to be there when I go in there, Austin. That's bull crap. It's September 2nd today. The NWHL season starts up, at least for the Beauts, on Saturday, November 6th. Nate, for you, what is life like for a typical GM, for you as a GM of the Buffalo Beauts, but maybe even just a GM of any hockey franchise? What's it like in this time frame for you?
Right now, it's pretty unique for us. This is kind of, I'll call it high gear mode. I'm very much a planner. I'm very much deliberate in the decisions that I make and methodical. So as I mentioned before, we were very focused on getting the players signed that we wanted to comprise our team this season. As soon as NWHL, we had a restricted free agency period, and then the regular open free agency, and we just went to work. I mean, we had a game plan going back to late February, early March of how we wanted to tackle the off season in terms of our focus for the draft and players that we definitely wanted to retain. So all of that's done right now, which is a good feeling to have behind us. But now is maybe where it's most key. So our training camp is going to start October 1st. It's a Friday. We'll be together through that entire weekend, and then into the week ahead, we fall under our regular routine for practices. But leading up to that right now, we're doing a lot of virtual team building. With the way that our team is structured this season, only 2 of our players are natives of Buffalo. There's 2 other players on the team who are not from Buffalo originally, but are currently living here. So those 4 are actually in Buffalo right now, but the other 19 players are from all over the globe. We talked about Lolo Bernson is from Sweden. I signed Yana Suoko out of Finland. So they're both overseas right now. About half of our team is Canadian, and then the remaining Americans are from really all across the country. Dominique Kramer lives in Louisiana. Amy Buddy is from Minnesota. I have a few players that are in the Boston area. So we're all scattered right now. And so the best way to really tackle that is through Zoom and things just like we're doing now, where you can be together virtually and do some team building. So we've done some fun stuff. We've done like show and tell, and we did what I call the Beauts jukebox, where each player had to pick a song that was meaningful or special to them, and we formed our own playlist. And it's a nice, simple way that, they might sound kind of silly or kind of hokey things to do, but it's a nice way to get the players to get to know each other and start conversing and just start being a team together. I mean, that's really how it is kind of the spark that ignites it is just them interacting. And it gets even better tenfold, if not, 1,000-fold, once they finally get together and they can just be themselves. They can be teammates. They can hang out in the locker room, be together on the ice, seeing each other regularity with practices. So right now, I think we're in that stage where we did all of our hard off-season work. Now we're just anxious for the season to get started and are preparing for that.
So I know that, it sounds like, going into any season, most teams are, looking forward to it, high hopes. Everybody's in for the most part, in a good mood, ready to go for the season. But let's just say you walk into the season, you signed a player, but they're unhappy. They come into your office maybe after a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and they say, "Listen, I'm not happy. I don't want to be here. I want to be traded. I want my contract terminated, whatever it is." And I asked this thinking of, well, your local team, Jack Eichel in Buffalo right now is a very hot topic in the NHL. And of course, here in St. Louis, we've got Vladimir Tarasenko, who has been one of the hot topics all offseason in the NHL. So you as a GM, how do you respond to that? And what would your process be if you knew that this was the situation that was occurring?
Sure, and it does happen. It has happened throughout the history of the NWHL, where players sign up and they're not able to continue the season for one reason or another, or they need to relocate. I have to strongly stress here that very much unlike an NHL team and NHL players. Our players, they're not making salaries that they can live on and have hockey be their main means of earning income. At best, it's a part-time job. So the vast majority of them are playing hockey and earning a modest salary, and in addition to that, they're having to work other jobs in order to make ends meet. So, our team captain, Taylor Kersey, is a police officer in Southern Ontario. I have players on the team that are physical therapists. We've had teachers, athletic trainers, engineers. It's a very wide mix of different backgrounds and careers that they're doing in addition to hockey in order to make ends meet. So my point in saying that is that players, life catches up with you sometimes, and you do have to make those hard decisions in your career in order to make ends meet. Our hope, and it's the goal I think of everybody that's a proponent of women's hockey, is that someday that it'll be achieved where our players don't have to struggle so hard. They don't have to work 2 to 3 jobs in order to make ends meet. They can earn a salary just from hockey and have that be enough to live comfortably and just focus on being a hockey player. But having said all that, I think one of the things that I really just imbue within our team, and I want to make sure that it permeates, is that I support my players in any way, shape, or possible. I believe wholeheartedly. My players are probably sick of hearing me say it, but people might forget what you said to them. People might forget what you showed them, but nobody ever forgets how you made them feel. And I think that when you foster an environment where your players feel wanted and welcome, they're naturally going to perform at their very best for you, but they're also going to recognize that, hey, Nate has my back here. He doesn't care about just me, the hockey player, but he cares about me, the person. And that's not just me. That's our coaching staff. That's our medical team. That's our equipment manager. We're very proud of the culture that we've built here. So I'm kind of giving you a long way around answering your question, but my point is that, if a player came to me and said, I think I need to make a change, or I don't think I'm able to do this anymore. And as I said, it has happened in the past. You work with that person, you work with that player, because at the end of the day, they are a person, and I want their experience playing for the Beauts to be a positive one, not just for hockey, but the experiences that they have here while they're with our team. So it's important to look after your players as best as you possibly can.
So, first of all, I want to thank, there's a lot of people in the YouTube, Facebook chats who typically probably aren't Blues fans and are here to hear from Nate and Dan. So I want to thank you for tuning in and being a part of the show. And as I said, we try to get to your comments whenever you post them. So one of those people who's a person I've not seen in our YouTube chat before, Bill, as we like to say, a new live listener, Gunsmith Cat 74. She asks, Nate, will Wheels play in that Beauts Adrian game? Also, same jerseys this season? ? I don't know what the first question means at all, just so you know.
So fortunately, I do. So you're not putting me on the spot. So Wheels is referring to Kristen Lewicki, who's one of the fastest players that's played for our team, and certainly in the NWHL. And her alma mater is the Adrian Bulldogs, whom we'll be playing an exhibition game with coming up in October. And we've had a great relationship with them, but very fortunate that not only Wheels, but Sarah Shurup, Kaylin Shroka, Hannah McGowan, Kelly O'Sullivan. Those were all players that came through that program and ended up being part of the Buffalo Beauts. So it's great from that aspect of it, supporting our alumni and supporting almost like a channel or a feeding system, if you pardon the expression. It's a college that we found success with bringing players to our team, whether that's through the draft or through free agency, and we've done both. So that's what the commenter is referring to. I would love it if Wheels signed up in the game. I think it would be totally her call if her schedule allows it. She did have to relocate for work and is pursuing a much different career separate from hockey. But I know she bleeds Beauts blue, and very much would love an opportunity to skate at her alma mater. I think, and this is no work of my own, I think Adrian is trying to do what they can to maybe have some of those names that I mentioned be there, at least in attendance, which would be nice to see. And for the second part of the question, we will be keeping the same jerseys this season, but we might have a few surprises. I'll leave it at that.
Whoa. Little teaser for you. I like that.
Everybody loves a jersey teaser.
That's right. Hey, we are Jersey hounds here. We are like the crazy Jersey fanboys here. We've even, when the NHL had their reverse retro reveal, we had an entire show dedicated to rating each jersey. So we are Jersey fanboys. You could see I really need to take a picture of it and post it on social. I literally have a jersey closet. All that's in there is hockey jerseys. So it's the wife hates it, but you know what? you know what you got yourself into. That's what I always tell her. So I wanted to ask you too, because I asked Lev this when she was on, asked about her relationship with the Minnesota Wild. What's the relationship like between the Buffalo Beauts and the Buffalo Sabres?
At this point, I would say that there's not much of one. There was in the past, and ownership has changed. At one time, the Beauts were under the same ownership as the Sabres, but not the case anymore. And so, when things like that happen, we're fortunate, and it's similar to St. Louis and a lot of major cities. There's other sports teams that maybe are not. You don't necessarily think that there's a correlation between hockey and another sport, but this September 11th, we're going to be at the Buffalo Bison's baseball game, and the Bisons are the AAA affiliate of the Toronto Blue Jays. There's also a women's soccer team now in Buffalo that just played its first season, FC Buffalo, and we've kind of created a sisterhood there between the soccer players and our hockey players. to foster that. But there's definitely, there's definitely some connections between the Sabre players and the Beauts players. Jenna Sawoko, as I mentioned, is a player we signed from Finland. She, I believe, I don't know how close friends they are, but I think they're from the same town and they certainly know each other. But recently signed Henry Jokiharju, is a player that she knows well. And, through my discussions with Jenna, that was one thing she was excited about coming to Buffalo, is knowing that there's some Finns that have played for the Sabres. So I think that will be nice for her that Jokiharju has re-signed with Buffalo, and Jenna's, of course, here in Buffalo. And I'm sure an opportunity will present itself where they'll probably get together or at least see each other. And I think last season, Jordan Duran, who was an alternate captain for us, close friends with Jack Eichel, who you mentioned, they went to college together and knew each other from there. So there's definitely overlap between our two teams, which is nice to see. And no matter what might happen in the business aspect of it, the players themselves and the athletes in general certainly support one another, which is really special, and in my opinion, is what it should be all about anyway.
Well, Dan, Nate, this has been extremely informative. I've watched the NWHL. I'm one of those hockey junkies that if there's any hockey on at all, I will watch it. If it's midday, it's 4:00, and there's an ECHL game on. Okay, I'll turn that on. Like, I don't care what it is, I will watch it. So I've come to love the NWHL. It's a growing sport. It's a growing league. And you made the comment that you hope that one day these players will be able to support themselves just by playing in the NWHL. I'm 100% with you. The way I look at it is, imagine what these ladies would be doing if they didn't have to work other jobs. Imagine how much better they'd be able to prepare for games. How much? I mean, it's just the possibilities are just limitless. So I hope one day we get to that point. Unfortunately, we're not there now and it's the same with a lot of women's sports. So I'm with you. Hopefully one day that changes. But the only way that we can do that, folks, is by watching and supporting and buying merchandise and helping this grow and just getting the sport bigger, because it definitely should be. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's not it's not the same. Like, a lot of people would say, well, for me, it's like, would I rather watch the best sport in the world or another league, best league in the world or another league? And I say, this is the best women's league, and it is so much fun. It's fast paced, great hands, great vision, all over the ice. You mentioned Lev in goal, but she's not the only great goalie in the league. There's plenty of them. So again, folks, if you want to support the NWHL, I strongly, strongly recommend you at least check out their games. Give them a shot on Twitch. Again, it's free to watch their games. And so, guys, this has been a lot of fun. It's been great getting to know more about the game itself. I want to ask both of you individually. We'll start with Dan. Where can people find your work? And then again, if you wouldn't mind, just another quick rundown of how people can find the NWHL.
Thanks again for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. I know you say you love goalies. I just want to say Nate has a great goalie, not only Lolo, but Carly Jackson, a real up-and-coming star in this league. Last year was a rookie season, and she was just phenomenal. The workload that she had, the amount of saves that she made, the types of saves that she made, and the type of person that she is, the kid's going to go far. As far as myself, you have my little Twitter name down here, at DRICE Hockey. Little different for me, not with the Hockey Writers anymore. I've shifted over to the Ice Garden. Really happy to join that group and those people, and it'll be the same thing for me, just in a different location. As far as Devil stuff goes, stay tuned. Maybe about a week week or so, I'll have an announcement on what I'll be doing regarding that. And I just want to I guess it might be breaking a little bit of news, but I don't know how much of a shock it's going to be. But Lev is signed for next season. She is not retiring, as she said. It hasn't been announced yet, so maybe I'm breaking the rules. But I'm pretty confident in saying that Lev will be back this upcoming season. So you guys can say you had it first.
Yes.
But
What a scoop!
We just broke a scoop here. Lev will be playing next season for the Minnesota Whitecaps. They haven't announced any signings yet, but I'm fairly confident in saying she'll be on the team. Just thanks again, guys, for having me on. Jeff, you and me, we go way back. The OG days at THW. I think you were there before I started.
Yep.
And then I outlasted you, and I outlasted everybody else.
Yep.
The way that it ended was a little disappointing, but the past. We move forward, and I'm just excited for an upcoming season, especially at the NWHL. I'm excited to get to games again. I haven't been to a game in forever. I saw Nate. When was it? In June. He had free agent camp, and I was like, "Can I come? Is it okay if I come?" I haven't done anything in like a year and a half. I've been covering games from my couch. I've been doing Zoom interviews for my regular interviews. And he was like, "Yeah, you guys can come." So made the 6.5-hour drive up to Buffalo to go watch tryouts for 2 hours. And then basically drove home the next day. But, it was great to see Nate being back in that environment. And I can't wait to see everybody in all the rinks this season. Hopefully see Nate when Buffalo comes to town. Maybe one day we'll get Jeff up to a game. Up at Buffalo, here in New Jersey, Connecticut, Boston, Minnesota. We got to get you to a game one way or another, though. But thanks again for having me on, guys.
I definitely agree. I've stepped into Riveters camp before. I was there. Was that 2 or 3 years ago? And I saw a little bit of their camp, and I was like, God, I got to make it up here for a game, but unfortunately, I just haven't yet. So I need to do that. It'd be a lot of fun. Like I said, I love watching on Twitch. And Dan, we, again, we've had you on so many times already talking about the Devils, talking about the NWHL, and I guarantee this will not be the last time you'll be seeing Dan Rice on Let's Go Blues Radio. So, Dan, thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to the announcement of where we'll be seeing your Devils news, as they made a couple moves this summer that were very intriguing. So it'll be fun to see what they do. Now, Nate Oliver, again, GM of the Buffalo Beauts. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing your insight. Now, I want you to speak as a whole for yourself, for the Buffalo Beauts, and maybe even for the NWHL. How can people interact with you, your team, the league? And then again, clearly, I'll go ahead and say it for you. Make sure you watch on Twitch, get up to a game wherever you can. But yeah, go ahead and tell us where people can find you on social media, and as well as any other way they might be able to interact with the Buffalo Beauts.
For sure. And, for me personally, I'd rather be behind the scenes. But we have some great social media accounts, both on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever your preference is. You can find us at Buffalo Beauts for Instagram and for Twitter. And the nicest thing is that the majority of our players are all pretty active on social media as well too. Dan brought up Carly Jackson, and she's maybe the Beaut that's most active, or at least most interactive with the fans and with media. And she's a wonderful person. I can't say enough wonderful things about her. She will always have a special connection because she got her first professional win in gold when I got my first professional win as GM. So we'll kind of always have that connection there, and she and I kind of laugh about it. But I've never met anybody so thankful for for just the opportunity. I mean, she literally will say at every practice, I'm just happy to be here. I'm so thankful to be here. I'm thankful for this opportunity. I'm thankful that I get to be here with my teammates. She really appreciates what this league is all about and what our team is all about and what we want to accomplish here. You have my Twitter handle on there as well too. If anybody's interested in reaching out, we're always looking for opportunities. Our team is very involved in the Buffalo community, the Western New York community. We do a lot of charity work, and we're going to continue to do that as much as possible, even amidst the pandemic. And we really do appreciate the fan support and just the love and appreciation from that way, as do all the teams in the NWHL and our league on the whole. I'd like to thank both of you guys for just having me on tonight. This was a great forum and real pleasure meeting both of you. And then certainly a shout out here to Dan, who's been a longtime friend of mine as well. I wouldn't be here where I am today and doing a dream job, in all honesty, if it wasn't for his strong belief in supporting me and sincere friendship and starting from covering the NWHL together and finding a passion in this. He's a wonderful person, as you guys know, and extremely knowledgeable when it comes to the sport of hockey, whether we're talking the Devils, NHL, women's hockey, collegiate hockey. I mean, he really knows his stuff. So he's a great friend, and it's always a pleasure to work with him. But this has been fantastic, guys. I really appreciate that you would think highly enough of me to have me on and give me a chance to talk about this.
Yeah, no, I strongly support the NWHL, and we just watched some we didn't even get into the US Canada game that just happened earlier this week, and it was a phenomenal game, just a great game to watch all around, whether you're a fan of the result or not. So again, women's hockey is just as exciting as men's, and for those who may be naysayers, I just tell you, watch one game. Just watch one game, even a regular season game, and you will agree with me. It's so much fun. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for what you do, and thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciated having you.
All right. Be well, guys.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Put that energy drink down. Don't you know that common energy drinks contain high levels of caffeine and other harmful ingredients that can lead to increased blood pressure and heart rhythm disturbances? Finding that energy you need for everyday activities doesn't need to put your health at risk. ID Life's energy formula doesn't use artificial ingredients or a massive dose of caffeine. Energy's caffeine levels are released slowly over time, allowing for longer periods of energy without crash, not to mention keeping your heart safe. Energy also includes neurotransmitters for mood, focus, memory, and cognitive function. ID Life also added antioxidants associated with brain health for no reason besides perfection. With RockinThatIDLife.com, you can get an energy boost and leave the heart risk behind. Text Dustin at 636-393-8745 or visit RockinThatIDLife.com and throw those gas station energy drinks in the garbage. That's 636-393-8745 and RockinThatIDLife.com and tell Dustin that Let's Go Blues Radio sent you. So, Bill, before we get into the bulk of blues talk here, I want to point out, I don't know if you can see it now, the shirt that I'm wearing. So, I've mentioned before that I have been cleaning out my mom's basement for years now, and I found an old bin of my old clothes. So I got this shirt when I was 11 years old, 1996. I'm gonna hold it up here. Wayne
That's
Gretzky.
beauty.
And it says
That
St.
is a
Louis
beauty.
has the great one. So, first of all, let me just point out, I was 11 years old when I got this shirt. I am now 36. It's a little small. It comes right to my waistline. So when I had it on earlier, my wife was laughing at me. But the fact that I was able to still wear this, I said, I should feel pretty good about myself. But then I thought, you know what? It's actually that I was a very large 11-year-old.
I was going to say, did you used to kick the shit out of everybody you met?
I was a very large. So, So, dude, I'm not kidding. I in 8th grade, I became 5'11", and I was like the second tallest kid in all the school. Now I am 5'11 and a half. I grew a half an inch after 8th grade, so I was a pretty large 11-year-old. And not just that way too. That was before I really got into playing hockey. I mean, I was playing, but not to the level I did when I was in high school. So yeah, I was kind of a bigger kid. So it's not surprising.
Yeah.
I loved
I was gonna say,
Doritos.
yeah, well, yeah, me too. Yeah, a little too much, NHL 93, NHL 94, and the predecessor video games, Doritos and soda, and not enough rink time and actual, taking care of the, the physical condition and making myself a finely tuned athlete.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's why that dream died on the vine.
Yep.
But,
yeah, me too.
you know.
No, I was I said loved Doritos, loved like you said, NHL 94, video games in general, Sega Genesis. I mean, I just played the shit out of that. I remember multiple times my mom coming downstairs at 4 a.m. and saying, "What the hell are you doing? You've got to go to school in 3 hours." Not the best lifestyle.
Yeah, I used to do play-by-play. When I played the game, I did the play-by-play while it was going on, and I don't know how many times that my parents would just come and slam the door to my room shut. I'm tired of it. Tired of hearing it.
My mom is coming to my defense here on the Facebook chat. Mary Woodruff Ponder says shirt was big too. So she's trying to say the shirt was big when I was 11, which it might have been, but I mean, come on, Mom. You know I was a large child. So oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, comment in the YouTube chat from a new handle that I'm not familiar with, but probably somebody who we know. 31 Teeth says Jeff used to be a goon.
No comment. I wouldn't say I was a goon, but I definitely I used my size to my advantage in youth hockey. So yeah, I got away with a lot more than I probably should have. So we're going to go ahead and move on to and obviously it's a little later than usual, but we're going to do our Today in Blues History, courtesy of the @STL Blues History account. This is for September 2nd, 2021. So on this day in 1992, Doug Wickenheiser was signed as a free agent with the Peoria Rivermen, which was a Blues affiliate. After playing 2 years in Europe, Wickenheiser ended up leading the Rivermen that season in goals, assists, and points. 30 goals, 45 assists, and 75 points. And a little commentary here from STL Blues History. Put the number 14 banner back in the rafters where it belongs, which I think every host of this show will agree with that.
Absolutely. Still, I don't know. I don't know that, the number 14 should be retired per se, but the banner needs to be up there. And they need to be very selective, kind of like number 7 doesn't go to just anybody. It's an honored number. It's not a retired number. But I was never a fan of Eric Boganicki wearing 14 after he swapped from 33.
Yeah, that was odd. And I'm fine with that number. Kurt and I talked about this last week. I'm fine with him taking the number down. Honestly, I am. But you've got to do something with it. You can't just take it down and then just not. I mean, it's sitting in a basement somewhere, right? It's sitting in the bowels of the Enterprise Center somewhere, like hang it at Centene, hang it in the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame there that they have there out on the concourse of the Enterprise Center. Do something with it. Don't just act like it doesn't exist. It was a big part of Blues history.
Yeah. Yep. I remember, when, they came up with, the logo and the 14 fund, and they were doing a lot of community outreach. I remember late 90s working in St. Clair Square Mall, and Ken Wilson was at the Lids location. I probably wasn't Lids at that time, but whatever the popular athletic apparel and hat store was. He was in there signing autographs and giving out different 14 fun stuff, and I found it. I don't have it with me right now, but again, cleaning out the parents' house, all the stuff you find, I found my little button that Ken Wilson gave me, and we had a nice little chat about the 14 fun, and what a great thing that was. And it needs to be recognized.
Definitely does. September 2nd, 2020, so just last year, the St. Louis Blues traded goaltender Jake Allen to the Montreal Canadiens for a third-round pick and a swap of seventh-rounders. The post also included, with STL Blues History's tweet, included a video of Jake Allen discussing the trade with Andy Strickland. So, 1 year ago today, I remember we had a show shortly after and talked about the trade. To this day, I know that people are upset with that, but you look at the, I don't want to say cap trouble the Blues are in, because Sundqvist will start the year on IR, but, Rob Thomas still unsigned at this point. You still have a backup goalie making what Jake makes. There's no question. You can't sign the guys that you've signed. You can't sign Buchnevich and Saad to the deals you did. So it's a trade that had to happen.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, this roster is entirely different. Somebody else that maybe, and hey, we know the history of Jake Allen. He's very much maligned for a long time as he was tried to, be force-fed the number one position and seemed to refuse it. But at the end of his tenure here, he was the perfect 1B goaltender that you would want in an organization. And we didn't have the funds to keep him. So, we may have wound up losing somebody more popular had he not been the guy to go to Montreal.
So, interesting note that I just got from the interviews we had with Nate Oliver and Dan Rice. February 21st, President's Day. Apparently, Buffalo has an outdoor game. So pay attention to that. I don't have the details. I'll look it up and I'll post it on Facebook or Twitter later. But yeah, apparently they have an outdoor game. So if you're interested in seeing an outdoor game for the Buffalo Beauts, definitely something you'll want to check out.
Buffalo outdoors in February.
Yeah, I wonder if there'll be a snowstorm and Sidney Crosby will appear and score a big goal.
Yeah, and Doc Emmerich will, ooze all over him or whatever.
Ow! What a goal!
Big drive.
That's my
Doc Emmerich.
That's my terrible Mike Emmerich impersonation. And a drive.
Away.
Catawampus into the corner. Colton Parayko has signed an 8-year, $52 million extension with the St. Louis Blues. That is a $6.5 million AAV. It is a real shame that Kurt Price did not join us for this show, because I know he would have a lot to say about a lot of the talk that went on Twitter a couple weeks ago after the Seth Jones signing, the Dougie Hamilton signing. There was another one, I can't remember who it was, but that Colton Parayko is going to command $8 to $9 million at the least. Reading everything we read today, which his new deal does start in 2022, 2023. So he would have been a unrestricted free agent next summer. So this deal does not kick in until after his current contract's over. But reading what we were reading from people suggesting that there's a chance he's going to ask for a lot of money. And then seeing what he said today and what Doug Armstrong had to say, it seems like he is committed. He wants to stay in St. Louis. And I know that we talk all the time, but we as in sports fans talk about the hometown discount. Oh, the home team discount. He's been here forever. He's going to sign for a discount. I've never in my life believed in that. I never expect that from a player. I feel like your career window is so short. You don't want to take that home team discount, and that's why I respect players who don't. But does this not feel, and I'm not saying that I think this is okay. I think this is a fair deal for both sides, especially considering the injury issues from last year with Parayko. But looking at what he potentially, if he has a good season, which I think he will, what he could have gotten next summer in free agency, after a year of players, of fans returning to the buildings, potential the cap's going to go up in the next couple years. He probably could have signed for probably more money. I think it's fair to say that. You got to think this might have actually been a home team discount. He wants to stay here. He wants to play here, and he loves the organization and the fans, which you have to appreciate.
Yeah, no, it absolutely feels that way. It's interesting, thinking back to one of my all-time highs but lows on social media when we were speculating about the potential Team Canada roster and looking at who the Craig Button had on his list, and pointed out that he didn't seem to value Colton Parayko too high, or had something against Colton Parayko, and he laughed at me on social media. That was great, but you do wonder how much do fans potentially have that that bias, the familiarity bias, and overvalue their own players. I think that Parayko he still has a tremendous amount of upside, but there's also a lot more risk now. Given what he went through over the last, 18 months, I guess not even 18 months, but about 14 months, going back to when the bubble started. He's not been the same player, and he's been hampered by back injuries, and that's always going to be a risk for a big lanky guy like him. Hopefully that gets addressed and gets fixed, and he always felt like he was going to be the heir apparent to Petrangelo, and this deal, hands him that, on a platter. He's still got protection, in terms of not being the only stud right-hand defenseman. Obviously Justin Falk and Alex Petrangelo are different players, but at least the beginning of the season that Justin Falk had last year, that's great. I think this deal is awesome in that it still gives him room to grow. But there's certainty on both sides, right? It's an 8-year deal, and there's a lot of risk on Armstrong, that if he's injured, and doesn't get back to the level that he was 2 years ago, then it blows up in his face. But there's still so much upside with the guy that it's going to be, it could wind up being a super sweetheart deal by the time it's done.
Yeah, he's 36 when the deal's up. And at that point, I mean, $6.5 million for a defenseman who you expect to play defense. You know, he's not Erik Karlsson. You're not asking him to skate the play up, and you know, he's not even a Justin Falk. You know, that you're not relying on him for that. And I think that was a comment I saw on social media earlier today. Somebody made a comment, how can you sign a guy who only had 30 points or his career, what was it? His career high in points was Petrangelo's career low in points. And it was like, but that's not why he's being signed. He's not a point guy. And it's not that he's a purely defensive defenseman either. He's a guy who can get the play moving. He can dictate play. He's not Chris Pronger in that aspect, but he can dictate play. He'll steal the puck and he'll get it up to his forwards, which is what you need out of a defenseman, as long as you have the skilled forwards who can do it. And I think this is a great deal for the Blues. Yes, injuries last year makes you question if this is the right move, but I think Armstrong came into this deal knowing that if Parayko has a great year, he is going to say, listen, I want to stay here, but you've got to pay me 8.5. Coming off an injury-riddled year, to lock him up for 8 years, and let's face it, that was his first injury-riddled year, right? I mean, we haven't seen him have serious lingering injuries before this past season. So to me, it's not a major risk. I mean, maybe it is, but it's yes, there's a risk there. Maybe he never recovers from the injuries he had last year, but if he can come back to form to where he was even right before the bubble, I mean, my God, sky's the limit for that kid. And this, I say kid, he's not a kid anymore, but I mean,
it's hard to believe he's 28.
Yeah, I feel like he's still a kid. Like, I still think of him as like this up and coming defenseman, but he's there now. And I really think that you're going to see him step his game up this year, be the number one defenseman that people wanted him to be last year, and hopefully not have the injuries we saw.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that, you know, it's funny you mentioned, you know, that last year was his first injury prone year. You remember back in his rookie year and how he was just so resilient, and you know, he'd block shots, and then there was that game against the Islanders where his leg bent backwards and we're like, okay, he's done for the year.
Yeah,
didn't miss a single shift.
Yeah,
and
I think he missed. Well, I think he missed the rest of that period, and it was, oh, God damn it, he's done. Like, this sensational rookie is done. And then he comes back out for the third period. It was like, what the fuck? It was like a goalie getting hit in the face in the 60s. Like, that guy's done. But then he comes back out stitched up in the third period. You know, like, what?
Well,
what the hell?
Because we're pretty dumb.
That's true. Don't worry, us defensemen are too.
That's why I became a defenseman.
That's right.
Continue to be dumb.
Yep. Oh, dude. Yeah. I turned the puck over behind my net a couple weeks ago, and I mean, it was a penalty kill. I tried to clear it. And the guy ended up. It wasn't high enough. He ended up knocking it down right in front of the net. And then he slid it across to a guy waiting on the other side. Would have been a tap-in goal. The minute I saw the guy knock the puck down with his glove, I just charged in front of the net and then dove down. And as the guy received the pass on the side of the net, he tried to rifle this one-timer, and I blocked it with my shin guards, and the puck ended up going out of the zone. And my goalie looks at me and goes, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" And I just go, "Dude, I turned the puck over. I had to do something." And he was like, No, I block the shots. You don't. This is men's league. This isn't the NHL. I'm just like, sorry, dude. It was just like instant reaction. Like, I had to do it. So yeah, we're fucking stupid too. We all do the dumb shit that goalies do too sometimes. But Did you know, and I didn't know this till I read, I think it was TSN's article about the Parayko signing. I guess I just didn't realize now with Vince Dunn gone, Parayko and Robert Bortuzzo are the only defensemen left from the 2019 Cup run. That's crazy. I didn't realize we had that much turnover.
Yeah, I mean, Petro, Bouwmeester, Gunnarsson. Yeah, I mean, Edmonton, all gone.
Yeah. Yep.
It is crazy. But yeah, I mean, we still have a very solid decor though. I mean, not those guys. I mean, maybe you don't have the initial impressions we had of Scandella was like, oh, he's going to fit in right now, pretty well. And, we'll all kind of forget about Bouwmeester, and that's not turned out to be the case over the long term. But, Torrey Krug, I thought really started to come on at the very end of last season and start to play the game that we saw him play in Boston. And if he comes out this season, either paired with Parayko or Falk and plays that way, man, we still have a really, really great, top three. And, we're not going to confuse him with Petrangelo, any of these guys, but long term, I think, we've still, I don't think our window's closed based on our D at this point.
Yeah, so you mentioned Krug, but Justin Falk, Krug, and Parayko are all now locked up through 2026, 2027 at least. They're all making $6.5 million per year, at least in cap hit. That's $19.5 million of the $81.5 million current salary cap. That's only 23.9% of the cap, and that's if it stays flat through next year. So I think that's pretty good, honestly. You look at some of the other defenses around the league. There was a comment made about how I think they're the top three defensemen of your team making up, I can't remember the exact stat. It was like if they make up more than 20% of your cap, there's only 3 teams that are doing that right now. I know one of the other teams was San Jose. And so it was, so the Blues are San Jose. And it's no, because I think these 3 deals are good deals. Justin Falk turned his game around. I think Torrey Krug left something to be desired for as a whole last year, but like you said, turned it on late. Thought he had an okay playoff, but was great late in the season down the stretch. I'm okay with that, and I know that my biggest thing going into the offseason was improve the defense. You got to consider Scott Perunovich is probably going to be stepping in this year, which he is, by all accounts, supposed to be a wonderful rookie this year. And then I think Jake Wallman stepping in in a full-time role. I'm very excited about that. I think he showed great strides last year.
We waited for a while for him to finally crack the NHL, but former Providence College, strong defenseman out of PC. I was always super excited to see him here, and when he finally cracked the lineup last year, and I mean he is such a great skater, like that burst of speed, one quick stride and he's up to speed and out the zone. That is such an underrated element that we didn't have that many super strong skaters. Jabo was pretty fleet of foot in his time, but towards the end of his career, not so much. I'm excited to see an entire year of Wallman out there.
Yeah.
So
definitely, me too.
Mikola's got another opportunity.
I was talking with a friend last night, and he mentioned he wants to see a top pairing of Parayko and Mikkola. And I'm like, that's interesting. I think I would actually enjoy that too. And then you throw out Krug and Falk as a second pair, and then Wallman and Bortuzzo or Perunovich or whoever.
Right.
I think that I'd like to see that. I want to see that in training camp, see how that looks.
Yeah.
Because I think
So-
Mikkola would give Parayko the opportunity to play a little more offense. Not, again, I don't think he's ever going to put up the numbers that we saw from an elite Petrangelo, but, you know, he's a guy we've seen great passing ability, great shot. I mean, accurate and hard. I could see him having a career year if he has the opportunity to step in and play more offense. But we'll see if that happens. I would love to see it in training camp and see what it looks like.
Yeah. And training camp's not that far away. We're in September.
We're getting there.
2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
Did you ever? I mean, it's so funny because I do these summer shows and I'm always just like, oh God, it's August and it's so hard. Like I love doing the shows, but I'm thinking, oh, I want hockey back so bad. But now I'm at a point where it's September 2nd and I'm like, this summer kind of went by quick. This is awesome. We're so close to training camp. I can't wait to see some more hockey coming here soon. So let's take a quick break and hear from our friends over at Center Ice Brewery.
Center Ice Brewery is St. Louis's only hockey-themed brewhouse. Stop on in during the next game to experience the ultimate hockey fan brewery while sampling various hockey-inspired beers, such as Old Arena Lager, the Beauty IPA, the Rotating Pale Ale Series, or seasonal offerings such as their Imperial Stout, their Lime Sherbet Sour, and much more. While you're there enjoying any number of their fantastic beverages, you can admire the bar top and tables made of authentic arena wood and the actual penalty box door from the old barn. Located at 3126 Olive Street in Midtown St. Louis, it's one of the best places to watch a Blues game, or any game. Visit CenterIceBrewery.com today to schedule a no-contact curbside pickup or make a reservation in the tap room. Center Ice Brewery. Let's go Blues! Please drink responsibly.
So it is. It's just going to be me here for a minute. I'm actually going to make a change here. And hey, everybody, how you doing? For those of you on the podcast, it's just showing myself now, so you see my entire background here and all my Blues glory, my beautiful gloves in the background that I have hanging from the old Kings days in the 60s. But anyway, so yeah, let's go ahead and get into because Bill's got to tend to something with his dog, unfortunately. So let's talk about some rapid fire hockey tidbits. I'm actually going to go ahead and discuss something because I want to talk about the Canadiens and Hurricanes situation, but I definitely want to do that with Bill. So I'm going to go ahead and move on and talk about the Islanders. I kind of made a joke earlier with our guests of the show, but they finally announced their summer moves. So this was all already speculated on. There's already been talk and all that eventually, you know, we're going to hear that the Islanders signed certain players. Well, they signed RFAs, Anthony Beauvillier and Ilya Sorokin, and then also UFAs, Casey Zizekas and Kyle Palmieri. So this is newsworthy because the Islanders have been the one team who have not announced a thing this summer. There's not been one word about what they've done. So I find it hilarious that and again, it's the old school antics of Lou Lamoriello, Mr. No Social Media, Mr. No Beards. You know, I want my team to act in a professional manner, that kind of thing, which is fine. Obviously, it's worked for the Islanders. They've been unbelievable the last couple of years, almost making the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row. But yeah, so finally these were announced, and then after we hear about this, Michael Russo of The Athletic, who's a Minnesota Wild reporter, he reports that Zach Parisi is now joining the Isles, which again is something that that we had kind of heard and people had speculated about. The Islanders are still yet to announce that signing, though. He was bought out by the Wild and then signed with the Islanders earlier this summer. Parisi says he is, quote, waiting for general manager Lou Lamoriello to register his contract with the NHL. And I should say that quote comes directly from Michael Russo of The Athletic. So Islanders are definitely a team that would that doesn't like announcing their contracts, announcing their deals. But this is definitely something that I laugh to myself about, because in today's age, like, it's right away. I mean, you look at the Seattle Kraken, and we were hearing about what players were selected hours before it was supposed to be announced. But then you got a team like the Islanders who were just, nope, we're tight-lipped. We're not saying a word. And by the way, Bill, don't worry, I skipped the Canadian story so that way we could talk about it. I'm talking about the Islanders specifically. But yeah, a lot of deals announced by the Islanders and then by Zach Parisi about the Islanders.
Yeah, no, actually, these I'm wearing some Galaxy Buds Pro. Stayed connected the entire time, so I could hear everything you were saying. Just couldn't contribute to the conversation. But I do appreciate you skipping the Canes Habs news and waiting for me.
Of course.
Yeah, going back to our interview earlier, I wanted to make a joke that I hope that with the news that Dan broke about Lev coming back, that Jack Brote, the GM of the Whitecaps, isn't truly the Lou Lamoriello of the NWHL, because we're either going to wind up getting slapped with a cease and desist, or one of us is going to disappear with his Providence connections.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you don't mess with Sweet Lou.
Yeah, I feel like, because Dan lives in like shouting distance of Mr. Lamoriello, so I'm like, oh, Dan, like, he might, if they're in cahoots, you never know. He might say, "Hey, Lou, I need some of your guys to go find this Dan Rice guy."
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty funny though. Great to be breaking news for once.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, that was literally, like, we've joked before, like, oh, we've got something breaking here. That was literally breaking news that you probably heard on Let's Go Blues Radio before anybody else. So that's awesome. Now, again, friend of the show, Lev, Amanda Levier. We love her. She was fantastic on this show. I hope to have her on again. But yeah, good news. Glad to see she's still competing in the NWHL. She's a hell of a goalie. And again, watch those feeds on Twitch, people, because she's does some acrobatic stuff. Minnesota Whitecaps goalie does a great job. So let's talk about. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, I will admit that I have only caught like a period of NWHL, and that was while they were on NBCSN, during the playoffs last year. Just, not something that I've made time to watch, but I will definitely do it. And if you caught any part of any of the Team USA versus Team Canada women's hockey games, in any game that those two teams have played in the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, that is some of the best hockey, hands down, that you will see. I mean, that snipe that Marie-Philippe Poulin to win it in overtime the other night, like, that's,
reminiscent of the Patrick Kane 2010 goal.
Right. And I kept seeing that posted everywhere, right? Everybody said, she knew it was in, just like Patrick Kane. And I'm like, but maybe let's not lump her in with that guy. And let's just give her credit. I saw somebody posted, Marie-Philippe Poulin is the Marie-Philippe Poulin of women's hockey. There is no comparison. Right? You don't have to compare her to a man. She's the legend. And hell, that got played on Channel 5 in St. Louis, 10 o'clock news. It was a hell of a moment. And yeah, and if there's, if that's the talent that's going to be on display through a regular season in the NWHL, I'm definitely going to catch some games.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. I compare it to like playing ice hockey and playing roller hockey. It's hockey, but it's a different style. It's different. It's hard to put a word on it. It's just different. And that's what I say about the NWHL and women's hockey in general. It's just different from men's hockey. It just feels like it's a different skill set. It's a different mindset. But it's awesome. It's equally awesome to the NHL. And like for me, just being a hockey junkie, like I said, I'll just watch any hockey there is, and even if I don't have a rooting interest. And honestly, some of the best games I've watched are when I don't have a rooting interest, and I'm just like, was just a great hockey game. That's how I feel about the NWHL. I don't have a favorite team. I'll just tune in and be like, well, that was a hell of a hockey game, and that's what I want to see. So it's a lot of fun. I definitely recommend, if you haven't seen it, you check it out. In the YouTube chat, Austin Lynch, which I just love when he posts stuff like this. I'm back. Sorry, had to finish schoolwork. Austin, you didn't have to tell us that you weren't paying attention for a while. We would have just assumed you were listening. So I appreciate your candor and your honesty, but it's truly unnecessary. You don't have to do that. And he asks us, Bill, are we getting Kraken jerseys? I'm not truly planning on it yet. I'm not the type of guy that goes out and gets like the new team jersey right away. I'm the guy that more is like, I'm gonna buy the jersey of the team that doesn't exist anymore. Like my last two purchases were a California Golden Seals and a Hartford Whalers jersey. So I'm not rushing out to get a Kraken jersey. I think they look great. I love the Kraken jerseys. Honestly, it's a nice look, but it's not in my list of jerseys to buy right now.
Right. I begrudgingly would have bought one had they had the balls to sign Gary or to pick Gary Price in the draft. I would have had a Price Kraken jersey in a second. But yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Something organic has to happen with them before I'm gonna be like, yeah, I need a jersey. They haven't played a game yet, and it's let's see how they do.
Yeah. 31 Teeth in the YouTube chat says, do you guys think we signed Bozak? I see it being difficult with Thomas still not signed, but Bozak is a great veteran presence. Again, Sundqvist is going to go on long-term injury reserve to start the year, so the Blues are going to have a little bit more salary room than people realize maybe. But I do think if you sign Bozak, I think you do have to move Tarasenko. And I mean, that's my opinion. That's not any insider knowledge or anything like that. I think that at this point, I think the Blues are fully set on just starting training camp with Tarasenko in the lineup. So I think Bozak signs a what's that called? The PTO with another team, maybe even with the Blues. I don't know. Yeah, professional tryout with another team for training camp. Which honestly, I'm actually a little shocked he hasn't been signed by anybody to this point. I thought he is a fine player. I want to see him back in a Blues jersey if it's possible. But I see him signing a PTO. Now we've seen players sign PTOs before and then not sign with the team they signed the PTO with. So maybe he signs a PTO, let's just say Vancouver, and then the Blues have an injury in camp, or they end up moving Tarasenko. They can still step in and say, Tyler, we want to sign you to a 1-year, $3 million deal. And he can sign that. Doesn't matter that he has a PTO with the Canucks. So there's still a likelihood that happens. But I think at this point, Blues have moved on and said, yeah, I think we're good to go with the roster we have, including Tarasenko, and I just don't see Bozak back at this point.
Yeah, no, I'd love to have him back, but it would have to be a super sweetheart deal, and I think somebody's going to throw some money at him, whether it's Vancouver, whether it's Calgary, some team out there will find use for Tyler Bozak and give him more than the Blues could offer at this point. That definitely you have to prioritize Robert Thomas, over anything else. In terms of what's remaining. Unfortunately, I love Bozy. I think he was a key part of that team. Some just indelible moments in the run. The trip moment against Boston and Nwhl. And then some of the games against Winnipeg. I mean, he really stood out and was great. But yeah, there it is. What a trip!
One of my favorite headlines ever, and in the Post-Dispatch.
Yeah, but I do think unfortunately we've seen the last of him in a Blues jersey, and that's I don't like Nate said, never say never, but it's not looking too good.
Yeah, like I said, if there's an injury in camp, or again, if Tarasenko's moved and they free up a bunch of cap space, maybe there's something there. But but I'll say this: Tyler Bozak will be in the NHL next season. He's a recent Cup winner. He played fine for the Blues down the stretch last year. And he's a solid third line center at this point in his career. On the well, I'd say the right team, but almost the wrong team. He's a second line center. But yeah, he's still an NHL player at this point in his career. So he'll be in the NHL next year. It'd be awesome to see him in a Blues jersey, but good chance that doesn't happen, like Bill said.
I think, I don't know, depending on how the what happens and what shakes out with Tarasenko, maybe that's the avenue that you can bring him back. But it would have to be either a futures return or a disappointing return for Tarasenko if that's the case.
Yeah, agree. So, Bill, definitely wanted to wait for you to get your take on this one. Carolina Hurricanes signed Canadian center Jesperi Kotkaniemi to a 1-year, $6.1 million offer sheet last Saturday. I read an article that said this was not revenge for the Canadians trying to sign Sebastian Aho. I don't know how you can say that, because it clearly is. You look at the signing bonus for Kotkaniemi, it was $20. And guess what? That's Aho's number.
Yep. It was a revenge signing designed for social media. I mean, the Canes Twitter account is top 2 in the league. Top 2, top 3. But that was so many strokes of genius. Playing the what was it, the skip boat card? Back at you.
For those,
and then to make the announcement later in French, right. There were so many moments, as a Canadiens fan and a Kotkaniemi fan and an owner of a Canadiens Kotkaniemi jersey. I hate it, but I have to give props to the Canes social media team. That whole thing was very well executed, and that's it's interesting that that there is a strong prevailing thought that Montreal's not going to match. They're going to take the picks, and Carolina is going to have to pay him 6.1 for a year. I think the biggest thing, there has been a lot of, at least for, the Canadiens fans and podcasts that I follow on Twitter. There's been a lot of dissension, do we sign him, do we not? But the one thing I think most people tend to agree on is how poorly the Canadiens have managed Kotkaniemi to this point in his career, keeping him up as an 18-year-old and not, letting him develop more. It seems to be the biggest thing that most people can agree on. I think the kid's got a tremendous upside. I mean, you mentioned the Stanley Cup game some of the playoff games that we went to Center Ice Brewery. Kotkaniemi had the game winner against Toronto, the overtime game winner, and that was an amazing moment. And I'm like, God, this team looks so great going forward with Suzuki and Kotkaniemi centering them for years to come, and and then 2 weeks later he's scratched in the final. I don't know.
I didn't understand that. No, and you mentioned the switcheroo card from Uno that the Carolina Hurricanes.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
Uno. I thought it was Skippo. It's been a long time since I played card games.
I've got some nieces and nephews, so I know Uno way too well. Unfortunately, my wife. Okay, I don't know if and this is a total tangent side note. People may not know, I'm not good at hockey. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. And I'm not good at most things in terms of athletic competition. But I am a very competitive person. So even though I may not be the best hockey player, I've always been told that I'm like the hardest skater. I'm the person who works the hardest to improve themselves. And it's the same way with anything. For example, I former co-host of the show, Justin Wilson, prides himself as a great Monopoly player. I fucking hate Monopoly. I hate Monopoly so much because I feel like every game just ends with, okay, fuck it, you win, I'm done. There's never an actual winner. It's that we get so tired of fucking playing that we're just like, I don't want to play anymore. This is stupid. Whoever's in the lead, you win.
It's a game of attrition.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. But when I found out that he says I'm the best Monopoly player there is, I found this out a couple months ago. Now I've set a goal for myself. All right, I need to find out how I can beat him so I can be the best Monopoly player and never let him win ever again. That's how my mind works. That's how I'm wired. My wife has beaten me in Uno every goddamn time I've played her in 12 years, 11 years now that we've been together. And I am like infuriated. And I told her, I am never playing you again. And I'm like, I've literally looked up like how to win Uno on Google, and I will not play her until I figure it out. So, because let's face it, right? It's totally a game of fucking chance. For the most part, there's some strategy. Don't get me wrong, but it's mostly a game of chance. And so, but I'm just like, I'm not playing her until I know how to win. And it's ridiculous. So that's how I am in most things in life. I have to be the best, even though I know there's a good chance I'm not going to be. So anyway, this was a shock to many people. I don't know. It's such a weird offer because usually you see like a 3 or 4 year offer. It's a 1 year deal. And it's because Carolina is looking at it and saying they can't afford to pay somebody 6.1 next year. And that's why they made the offer. But then you think about it, and it's, if you're the Canadiens, maybe you tell Kotkaniemi, go play in Carolina for a year. We'll sign you next summer. Again, clearly things might happen that would change that, but that way the Canadiens are stockpiling picks, not having to pay a guy 6.1 next year. And because they still haven't, they're still not allowing full attendance in Canada, right?
I
you heard?
haven't seen anything about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming they're still not 100%, but yeah. So I don't know. It's a really weird situation, and they have to have an answer by tomorrow, right?
That I don't know either. But
I think it's tomorrow is the deadline.
Yeah. The only thing I've seen is that they announced that fully vaccinated and masked media members will have access to the locker room. That's about the only thing I've seen. It's trickled out on Twitter tonight. I think Mike Russo was one of the guys that put that out there.
Our friend Oilers Live, who's by the way, Michael Hebert, no relation to Guy Hebert, former Blues goalie. He says it was definitely revenge. He says full attendance but double vaxxed. Good for you, Canada. I hope that's nationwide, because that's the way it should be. Make sure that you are vaxxed. And yes, he also says tomorrow is the deadline. That's what I thought. I think it's tomorrow at noon, but I could be wrong on that. Noon Eastern time. No, thank you very much for that information, Michael, who, by the way, we need to get you on the show here soon. We'll talk about the upcoming season. But anyway, 31 Teeth over in the YouTube chat. How many points do you think Saad can get if he stays on the second line for most of the season? It depends on what that second line is. If there's a bunch of injuries and the second line is Barbashev and Clifford, he's not getting a lot of points. But, if he's playing with, a Buchnevich or a Tarasenko and a Shen, I mean, there's no reason to think he couldn't match his, I can't remember what his career year was, but there's no reason to think that he couldn't put up some big numbers for the Blues. I'm trying to look up right now what his, come on, NHL.com. Help me out here. So his career year, I think it was in Columbus that he had his best year. Let's see, 53 points. Yeah, both years in Columbus was his best year. 53 points twice. 31 goals, 22 assists one year, and then 24 goals and 29 assists the next year. 53 points. I'm not saying to expect that, but I could definitely see him coming close, at least, to 53 points if he plays with the right teammates.
Right. As long as, I would, I'm tripping all over my words here, but thinking back to last year in the Hoffman experience, as long as he's managed and coached correctly, yeah, he'll put up 40 points for sure. Points, not goals. I'm not going back into that trap. 40 points. 50 points, over the course of a season, 50 points, definitely. 60 points would be maybe a bit of a stretch, but who knows? Who knows what kind of chemistry they're going to find, who he's going to play with, whether, like you said, is it going to be with, Shen? Is it going to be with O'Reilly? Who's going to center that? Is it potentially Robert Thomas? I don't know. I think that I'm expecting more from him, even though I loved my joke about Hoffman and 40 goals in that last year. I am truly expecting more from him than I did when we signed Hoffman.
Yeah.
Just overall points wise. He showed me a lot in that series that we played against Colorado and got our asses kicked. He showed me that he was still in peak form, and not somebody that's because you kind of think back. I've always kind of compared him with Patrick Sharp, and Patrick Sharp was great until he got to Dallas. Had half a decent year in Dallas, and it was downhill. Saad's been consistently good. and he's got that just speed that the Blues don't have a lot of, and I think it's going to be great. They're going to be really good opportunities, and I think it's one of the signings, if you can't tell, that I've been most excited about and really anxious to see how he works. Obviously, Buchnevich is everybody's favorite signing and should be, because that's super exciting, because I love it when RB rapes another GM. I mean, that's poor terminology on my part. I apologize, but I love it when he pilfers other teams. I mean, come on.
Yep. No, we know what you meant.
And it's always an Eastern Conference team.
Yeah, it always is. No, it's beautiful. We love that. It's fun to watch. I'm reminded of a Roy Kent line, and Bill, I know you're gonna laugh about this. It's Roy Kent. The first season of Ted Lasso on Apple TV was the captain. Now he's he ends up, not to give it away, he retires and becomes a pundit. He becomes a pundit on a soccer broadcast,
Sky Sports.
And Sky Sports, yeah. And they ask him, one of the questions they ask him is, what do you see, coming for this player this season? And he says, I don't fucking know. None of us really know. Like we sit here, we talk about what we expect, and then when the player doesn't meet those expectations, we bitch about it. And I hear that and I'm like, God damn it, that's what we do on the podcast. That's exactly what we do. That's what everybody does. Yep. You sit here, you talk about like expectations coming into the year or coming into that game, and if that guy didn't score 2 goals, well, he did not meet the expectations we had coming into that game. So clearly he had a bad game, and it's just, that's not how it works. But I will say, I do expect Brandon Saad to have I think the way he plays the game, I think he's going to match the Berube style, and I think he could have some good chemistry. And whether that's on the first or the second line or even the third line with the Blues, we'll see. But I don't think there's any reason to believe that he couldn't have a really good year here in St. Louis. Bill,
absolutely.
Anything to add?
I can't find it quickly enough. But I thought you were going to go with the Roy Kent line about I don't know, he's 16 years old. He'll probably have a wake and go to sleep. Something like that. I was trying to find the actual quote.
That is a good one.
If you haven't gotten in on following all the characters on Twitter, because they are on Twitter, Trent Krim, the Independent, follow it. They do a poll every week, a tournament style poll of best quotes from the show that week.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. One of my favorite quotes was, "Well, we lost." He's talking about coaching a girls' 9-year-old team. "Well, we lost. Would have been closer, but one of the goals got disallowed because apparently 9-year-olds aren't allowed to do headers yet. Fucking brain development." I will again say, folks, best show on television is Ted Lasso. I cannot get enough of that show. It is so damn funny.
Yeah. All right. So I found the actual quote. I don't know. He's 17. He'll probably have chips for dinner and a wake before bed. That has got to be the high point of Roy Kent pundit.
Yes. Oh, that was good stuff. One of my favorites is one of the recent episodes when they do the was it the Diamond Dogs? The Diamond Dog meeting, and they go, "Roy, you want to sit in?" And he goes, "Fuck no." No, when he closes the door. And then they all start hollering. He goes, "Well, you all started barking. Does that mean you guys are done?"
Yeah. So great.
Oh, such good stuff. All right, let's see. We have any other comments we should get to? talking about Sod, 31 Teeth says he plays a solid 200-foot game. Man, Ken Hitchcock would love him then, right?
Yeah.
That was always the Ken Hitchcock quote.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm, like I said, super excited to see what he can bring to the team. Yeah, the only other thing I got, I wish I would have had just a little bit more time to prep for this, but we totally missed an opportunity here tonight to ask Nate, and Dan probably knows too, but what is the deal with all the NWHL teams having a pet roster and a pet draft? That's amazing. I mean, I'm a big fan now of the Beauts since Nate came on the show, but I will say that my second favorite team is the Toronto Six because of Dante the Weimaraner. They have a Weim on their roster, so that's my team.
Yeah, I noticed that too, that they have a whole pet roster, which I think is awesome. That is a really interesting idea, and I think hopefully they push that more on social media because I think a lot of people can get behind that.
Yeah, it would have been a great topic, and missed opportunity on my part, but
next time we'll have them on again.
They'll be back.
They always come back. Support for Let's Go Blues Radio is brought to you in part by ID Life, the world's only truly personalized vitamin platform based on a health assessment of your DNA. Visit rockinthatidlife.com for more information. That's rockinthatidlife.com. And remember, that's rockin', not rocking. Yeah, look at Bill.
The hydrate. Thank you, Dustin. It's made a big difference for me this week. I had a couple of really long days, and the energy, putting the energy in a smoothie towards the end of the day really got me through it. So.
Yeah, man. Oh, I've done that too. Yeah, I try to make smoothies at least 3 times a week and have that for lunch. And yeah, I throw that energy in there, and man, it gets me going in the afternoon. I love it.
Yep, absolutely.
So make sure you check out rockinthatidlife.com, and you also get 10% off by texting Dustin at 636-393-8745. That number again is 636-393-8745, and tell him Let's Go Blues Radio sent you. And by Center Ice Brewery and centericebrewery.com. It's St. Louis's hockey-themed brewery. Visit centericebrewery.com today to schedule a no-contact curbside pickup or to make a reservation in their awesome tap room. While you're there and enjoying a number of their fantastic beers, you can admire the bar top and tables made of authentic arena wood. Located at 3126 Olive Street in Midtown St. Louis, it's one of the best places to watch a Blues game. That's centericebrewery.com. Please drink responsibly. That will do it for episode 51 of season 9 of the original St. Louis Blues Hockey Podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks to those who participated in the YouTube and Facebook live chats during the show. I had fun, Bill had fun, and we hope you had fun. I will also add thank you very much to Nate Oliver and Dan Rice for joining the show. We love being able to talk about other leagues with other guys, and then of course again mentioning Dan, long time friend of mine, known him since I think 2012 now, and just a great guy, knows the sport better than most people I know, except Bill, of course, just because you're in shouting distance. But I really do appreciate them coming on. That was a lot of fun having them come on to talk about hockey, so we always appreciate that. So for Bill Day and the on assignment Kurt Price, I'm Jeff Ponder, and this was Let's Go Blues Radio. Until next time, everyone, let's go Buffalo Beauts.
Let's go Beauts.
And Blues.
They do bleed Beauts blue.
I beat Beauts blue, but Blues blue too.
Absolutely. Let's go Blues.
This video's not wanting to play. Well, we might just be, Oh, here we go. Bye, everybody.
The Chiefs are at home tonight against Cyanosport at the War Memorial at 8. Good seats are still available. A look at sports. I think that went very well.
Thank you for listening to Let's Go Blues Radio. Now take off, hosers.
I want you to have a heart attack and die so that we never have to do this shit again.
Well, there's 90 minutes of your life you'll never get back. Sorry.
St. Louis Blues, St. Louis Blues. Have you heard the news about our St. Louis Blues? They've only just begun, they're on their way to #1. Now there's no more blues for our St. Louis Blues. The Blues are on the ice tonight again. They're rough and tough and got the stuff to win. They'll always get one more, no matter what the score. They are quite a hockey team, my friend.